I saw it probably a couple of years after I arrived in Australia. I must have been sort of 10 or 11 or something. What I sensed about it was that it was an image of longing, and it was an image of a kind of perhaps about memory, perhaps about desire, a sort of a hope for an experience of a former life. And these are all things that you experience as a 10-year-old without being able to put words to them. But I guess I sensed that it was an image. It wasn't a landscape. It wasn't a kind of rendition of a landscape or a representation of a landscape for me. It seemed to have a kind of disembodied quality, a kind of otherworldliness that for me represented or generated or kind of encouraged me to feel as though it was about a kind of a longing for home, a kind of an experience of home. Yeah, and I remember talking about it to my mother, and both being kind of puzzled because we thought it was by an Italian artist because of the name had been misspelt, and it read like a Southern Italian name, and so perhaps that added to it. Perhaps that added some sort of other complex sort of thread that I haven't as yet unwoven from my reading of the Namatjira watercolour. It was very interesting to have that opportunity, but to be able to talk about these things in the very sites in which there's this sort of incredibly tight holding on to the trappings of our colonial sort of existence in this country. So, of course, the collections, the residues of, or where power can be observed, where the dynamics of power can best be observed, what's in the collection, what it reflects, what it says, who is represented. And of course, I think the idea of using these instruments that were, in a sense, the symbols of a colonial oppression when they first appeared in Australia, inside these sites, and to use them to express through song ideas of disempowerment and resistance, I think was an interesting opportunity for me as an artist, and to perform on campus, to actually camp out in this tiny little kind of corner of wild nature inside the Flinders Uni campus. I mean, a beautiful, beautiful sort of experience to awake to the birds and the lagoon. I mean, for a little microsecond, I could pretend I was somewhere that was really wild, to awake to that. And then to be able to express all of those ideas, so that there was a layering that I could bring about of migrants singing resistance song inside a bastion of, a sort of conservatism, which universities are. And so all of these layerings were able to come together in what might be a puzzling sort of expression, a sort of almost a collage of all of these various kind of meanings. And I guess there's no clear outcome for me, but it was an opportunity to bring all of these things about, to make them work together, to manifest them together in these interesting sites. And I'm very, very grateful to Flinders University for having given me that possibility. There was the invasion of Australia as it had been pre-colonial days, and then of course there was a sense, in a way, of the first individuals who journeyed through the country, white, who were themselves oppressed by by the colonial forces, the Eureka Stockade, all of that. And so I guess Australia was built on this layering of the effects of power, who has power, who is oppressed, who's the oppressor, all of those questions. They're still going on.